Good morning, beloveds. It is Earth Day, which I knew was coming, and yet it still snuck up on me. So, happy Earth Day. It's definitely a good day to reflect on what we can do to take care of the planet that we live on, because we can't live without it. All right. It is April 22nd. Our title is God's Power is in My Word. Our first quote is, "For the kingdom of God is not in word, but in power." That is 1 Corinthians 4:20. The second quote is, "Words are molds. It is the consciousness which flows through them that fills these molds with a living substance." And that is The Science of Mind, page 56. All right. So, students of the Science of Mind understand why prayers recited by rote are ineffective for achieving the results desired. Little good is accomplished by repeating a memorized prayer while thinking of tonight's dinner menu or next week's football game. The prayer technique taught by Science of Mind, called spiritual mind treatment, follows basic guidelines, but it also requires us to use our own conscious thought in forming the actual content of our prayer. Even when using the spiritual mind treatment, however, we can fall into the habit of mouthing words we have memorized, all the while worrying about the very problem we are using prayer to solve. This is why students are encouraged to learn the technique of meditation. In meditation, we enter the silence. During the period we are meditating, we quiet the constant chattering of the conscious mind and listen for the still small voice from deep within the self. When the voice speaks, it thunders into consciousness, honing awareness to a sharp focus. It tells us we are its own and we vibrate to the tune of the infinite. In that tingling awareness, we speak our prayer, mentally or aloud, into the silence. Then we know that God's living spirit fills our words with God's power, and we feel this power at work, bringing our desires into fruition. I quiet myself, going within, to find the perfect being, which is never tired, sick, troubled, or bored. I hear my greater self whispering deep within of its all-consuming love, and I surrender to it, allowing infinite wisdom to guide and direct me all this day. Okay, I'm going to find out who it is, and I'll tell you I'm going to find out who it is. Okay. See, it's MD, and that is Mary Donnelson. And I'm going to slightly disagree with Mary Donnelson. Just a little bit, but not really. Okay, because she makes a comment about prayers by rote. And here's why I disagree with her about prayers by rote. She says prayers by rote don't work. And I agree with her. Prayers by rote don't work for prayers. But prayers by rote can get us into that meditative state. So don't give up your prayers by rote, but maybe what you want to do is repurpose the prayers by rote. Okay. So that's where I slightly disagree with her. And I will tell you that I slightly disagree with her simply based on the fact that I'm Catholic, or I was raised Catholic. And one of the gifts that my grandmother gave me was the rosary. And the rosary, because it is a prayer by rote, you learn it and then you just do it, was an excellent way to get into that meditative state where, with what she's talking about, to listen to the still small quiet voice. So it's like you do the rosary, however, many times you choose to do it, because, trust me, I had some grannies in my life that did it 3 times, and then you sit in the silence. Okay, so don't necessarily give up your prayers by rote. What you want to do is repurpose your prayers by rote, because they can be excellent for silencing that chattering mind, because you're busy focusing on the words, and that's just it. Because she says the reason prayers by rote don't work is because you're just mouthing the words. You're not thinking about the words. what you are doing is you're worried about tonight's dinner. So you're just going through the motions. Well, we all know that doesn't work. Going through the motions never works. At least not to the fullest potential that it could. Because sometimes it does work. Sometimes we just go through the motions because that's all we got. We don't have enough spoons in the drawer to deal with whatever it is. We go through the motions. So, but if you're doing a prayer by rote, you're giving your mind something to do. And then you hit that point where you slip into that meditative state and you can continue to chant, or you can stop and listen. Okay? So I don't really disagree with her. I just kind of, let me take a slightly different track is what I'm going to say. All right. And it never occurred to me why prayers by rote don't work, because we're on autopilot. We're not thinking about what it is. We're not actively, consciously filling the molds, which is what the Science of Mind quote referenced to. So that was pretty, earth-shattering thought there. All right. God's power is in my word. For the kingdom of God is not in word, but in power. 1 Corinthians 4:20. Please feel free to go look that up, because sometimes the Bible quotes, I'm like, I got it. I understand. And sometimes the Bible quotes are like, yeah, I need a little more context. But with the Science of Mind, words are molds. It is the living consciousness which flows through them that fills these molds with a living substance. So that's from the Science of Mind text, page 56. And that's just it. Words are molds. And it is the feeling that we are wrapping around those words that allows us, it's the feeling that we wrap around them that is the power. So that's why prayers by rote don't work, because they may not have any power behind them. Now, if they do, then go for it. Use them. Don't let somebody take away a powerful tool in your toolbox that works for you, if it works for you. And that's the beautiful thing about having a toolbox, is we've got a wide range of tools, and not every tool is suited for every purpose. Some of them have very specific purposes, and if it works for you, keep it. Keep it. That's my advice. Okay, so students of the Science of Mind understand why prayer recited by rote is ineffective. I'm going to say can be ineffective in achieving desired results, or the results desired. Little good is accomplished by repeating a memorized prayer while thinking of tonight's dinner menu or next week's football game. Okay, so that line right there, I was like, oh no, that makes a whole lot of sense. But the other thing is Ernest says you never do the same prayer twice. You never do the same treatment twice. You do the treatment. And then if you feel like you need to do the treatment again, you're not going to do the same treatment. What you're going to do is treat your treatment. It's whatever has cropped up that makes you feel like you need to redo the treatment. That's what you're treating for. That's what you're treating now. You're not treating the original, whatever the original subject is, because that you've let go of. Now, what you are treating is whatever has cropped up that's making you doubt that prayer. You are treating the doubt. Maybe you didn't quite let go. Or maybe things have happened and now you're going, maybe I need to amend that treatment. So it's never going to be the same treatment again. All right. The prayer technique taught by the Science of Mind, called spiritual mind treatment, follows basic guidelines. And you hear Johnny Depp in the background as Jack Sparrow going, they're not really rules. They're more like guidelines. Which means you can do what makes sense to you. There is nobody that is going to come up to you and smack your knuckles with a ruler because you're not doing it right. All right. There may be people who come to you and say, all right, let me posit this. This may be more effective for you, but they're never going to come up to you and say, you're doing it wrong. Do it this way. They're going to say, this might work a little bit better, but it's always going to be your choice. But it also requires us to use our own conscious thought in forming the actual content of our prayer. Yes, if you listen to any Science of Mind minister and a lot of the practitioners, we use very similar openings, very similar, out of the 5 steps, 4 of them could be very similar. And a lot of the times we take words directly from Ernest Holmes. But the one thing you will never find is that 3rd step, that middle step, that realization. It's never the same. Never the same. It's always going to be different. Always. Especially for those of us who very rarely write them. We just speak them. Unless you record me, I'm not going to remember what I said. I'm not. And even if you did record me and wrote it down and asked me to read it, yeah, if you watched me read, I'll change words. I have no problem changing words. So, that 3rd step, that's always going to be yours individually. Okay. Even when using spiritual mind treatment, however, we can fall into the habit of mouthing words we have memorized, all the while worrying about the very problem we are using prayer to solve. Right there. Which is why I like doing prayers on the fly. But then my issue then is sometimes I'll get distracted in the middle. And be like, and then I'm off on some John. I'm like, oh yeah, no, let me pull my mind back. So, it can be very effective to write treatments ahead of time. But when you do read a treatment that you have written and prepared, you got to make sure that you're focused on the words and the feeling that you are putting into it and not worried about what you're praying about. Get that feeling going. Okay. This is why students are encouraged to learn the technique of meditation. In meditation, we enter the silence. During the period we are meditating, we quiet the constant chattering of the conscious mind and listen for the still small voice from deep within the self. And that's where chanting or prayers by rote can be very helpful, because they give your conscious mind something to do. When the voice speaks, it thunders into consciousness, honing awareness into sharp focus. It tells us we are its own and we vibrate to the tune of the infinite. I'm guessing that Mary has had some pretty amazing meditations. In that tingling awareness, we speak our prayer, mentally or aloud, into the silence. Then we know that God's living spirit fills our words with that power, and we feel this power at work, bringing our desires to fruition. I quiet myself, going within to find perfect being, which is never tired, sick, troubled, or bored. I hear my greater self whispering deep within of its all-consuming love, and I surrender to it, allowing the infinite wisdom to guide and direct me all this day. All right, so that's MD. That's Mary Donnelson. Okay, so the mission today, should we choose to accept it? I think the mission today, should we choose to accept it, is to look into the words that we used by rote. Be they prayers, be they meditations. Look for those things that we are doing without feeling. Okay? And that's exactly what I mean. It's like there are prayers, and that's one of the reasons why I quit using the rosary. One, because I started listening to the words, and of the 3 types of rosaries, only one of them is really uplifting. The other 2 are kind of, I started listening to the words, and I acknowledged the feelings that the words were bringing up in me. And that's why it's like, okay, you know what? I'm going to set this aside for right now. So when you are doing those things that we do by rote, including getting into meditation, I want you to check your feelings and think, okay, is this what I'm going for? Is the feeling that this is bringing up, or is it not bringing up any feelings? And if it's not, then what do I need to do to change it? Okay. So I'm not sure I'm giving you a mission today so much as an assignment, to check those things that we do. Because the next thing I'm going to ask you to do is to do something loving for yourself, do something kind for yourself, do something compassionate for yourself. And that can be the same thing. When we get into a habit can be a good thing, but it can also be to the point that we don't remember doing it. It's become such an ingrained habit that there's no feeling left. And that's why when I suggest drinking that cup of coffee or tea or whatever it is that your, beverage of your choice, of engaging your five senses. It's like, don't do it you may have a tea ritual that you are doing that has become such a habit that you just do it without thinking about it and without feeling it. Okay. So that's one of the reasons why I give you lots of suggestions for the loving, kind, compassionate thing. And it can be the same thing every day, but don't let it become rote. Okay. Take a nap, go for a walk. And that's because I do walk the same route every day. But what I do when I'm walking that same route is I'm looking for or listening for something new. I'm listening for that different bird song that I haven't heard before. I'm watching to see a bird do something that I hadn't seen before, i.e. in my drive, or I was standing on the sidewalk, watching a mockingbird pounding something on the ground very intently. And I was like, what is happening here? It was kind of funny, actually. So it breaks up and I'm going to use the word monotony. Okay. So there, I kind of mashed the two into the mission and the spiritual practice into one, but you get what I'm saying. All right. Let's take a look for the rote, ROTEs in our lives. And if they're working for us, great, keep them. If they're not working for us, do we need to let them go, or can we change them to make them effective again? Okay. And loving, kind, compassionate, go for it. I'm also going to encourage you, as I always do something to engage your mind and your body today. Please go get a little bit of bright light for early in your day. It was very cloudy when I went for the walk, but there were a couple of points right there where I got that face full of sun, and it feels good. I enjoy feeling that warmth on my face, just for a moment. And then drink plenty of water. I'm a big believer in hydration. Sometimes we walk around with that headache, and it's just because we need a drink. We need a drink. We need a little bit of water. We need to hydrate that brain. It's floating. You don't want that fluid level to get too low that your brain starts bumping around in there. So drink plenty of water. And this one, whatever else you do today, open the windows of your soul. Allow the breath of heaven to remind you do live in heaven right here, right now. And sometimes life gets messy and it doesn't feel like it. But that's when we take Emma's advice and we look for the good and praise it. Even in the midst of chaos, I promise you the good is there. If for no other reason than you are, and you are good. All right. So that is my suggestion for Earth Day. And go do something good for the planet, whatever that looks like. Okay. All right. I'm immediately distracted by the two cats sitting beside me. So I am going to tell you to have a great day, an amazing day, a wondrous day, a fantastic day, an Earth Day, an awareness day, a get out of your rut day, a magical day, a good day. And if that is too much pressure, then simply have a day, because you are enough just as you are. Because you are a beloved child of God in whom God is well pleased, always and forever. And that is the state of grace, because it doesn't matter what anybody else says. God loves you. Always. All right, beloveds, I'm going to move into the process of my day. I'm going to suggest you email info@creativelife.org if you want to know what's going on. I will tell you that what's going on this Sunday is me. Jesse needed, every now and again, Jesse has other things that he needs to do, and he'll take an occasional Sunday off. And he's going to let me wrap up the heroic journey. So I'm kind of excited and have been taking notes furiously. And so that's what I got to do tomorrow is I got to get my notes in some sort of order that'll make sense. All right, beloveds. So come and see me either here on Facebook Live on Sunday at 11 or in person, because I promise it'll be interesting. Okay, because I can talk forever about the heroic journey. I love the heroic journey. I love Joseph Campbell. Yeah, I love world mythology, and I need to stop. So catch us on the social medias. We are Creative Life Spiritual Center, Creative Life Spark. I am the running Rev Ryan on the social medias. You know, that's how you find us. So do what you need to do. Take care of yourself. Have a great Earth Day. Know that Reverend David will be on around 5 p.m. with you. Know that I will be on around 9 a.m. with you. Although I do have an appointment in the morning, so I will have a different background. I will have a different background. But know that you're loved. Always. And I will see you next time.